This presentation is going to cover the evolution of policing in the United States, from slave patrols to modern-day law enforcement. The following presentation will cover the evolution of policing so that you may know and inform others of the various changes that have shaped the duties and practices of modern-day law enforcement. The four main ideas that I will cover in this presentation regarding the evolution of policing are the slave patrols, early police forces, the militarization of the police, and technological advancements in policing. Slave patrols were the origin of policing in the United States, serving as a way for slave owners to prevent slaves from escaping. The first formal police forces in Boston and New York were modeled after the slave patrols to manage crime and civil unrest. The militarization of police was caused due to the surplus military equipment and moral panics in the United States. And technological advancements in policing today, such as drones or body cameras, have created a level of supervision never before seen in policing. Before this, let's try out an activity that I think will illustrate you and others' modern day views and thoughts of law enforcement's duties. Um, this activity we will be doing is a survey to assess what you may or may not know about modern day duties of the police. Doing this will illustrate the present day duties and practices of law enforcement that you may be unaware of. Throughout the evolution of policing, the duties and responsibilities of law enforcement have expanded, and I think these following questions will touch on them. So the first question is, what was the main concern of law enforcement in the 19th century? A, investigating complex crimes. B, maintaining public order and preventing unrest. C, managing mental health emergencies. Or D, investigating cybersecurity incidents.
A.
A, investigating complex crimes. Okay. And just jot down your answers now. We'll come back later and review the answers if you don't have like a piece of paper and pencil, if you don't mind. Which of the following played a significant role in making policing more professional in the early 20th century? A, the establishment of formal police training institutions and programs. B, the utilization of social media for engaging with the community. C, the emergence of private security companies. Or D, the reduction of organized crime.
A.
A, the establishment of formal police training institutions and programs. Okay. Question three, true or false? In the initial stages of American policing, officers mainly conducted foot patrols without radios or centralized communication systems.
True.
True? Okay. What significant event in the 1960s prompted considerable changes in police practices and accountability? A, the implementation of body-worn cameras. B, public calls for civil rights and police oversight. C, the war on drugs. Or D, the introduction of forensic DNA testing.
A.
A, the implementation of body-worn cameras. Okay. How did police officers' roles evolve with the arrival of motorized patrol units in the 20th century? A, they became more reactive instead of taking a proactive approach to crime prevention. B, foot patrols were entirely removed. C, response times for officers decreased. Or D, officers ceased interaction with community members.
A.
A, they became more reactive instead of taking a proactive approach to crime prevention. Okay. Now the next question. Um, which of the following, excuse me, change the slide. Which of the following advancements has had the greatest effect on contemporary investigations? A, the development of fingerprinting and DNA analysis. B, the use of mounted patrols. C, the establishment of police uniforms. Or D, the discontinuation of neighborhood watch programs.
We're on question.
Oh, sorry. Which of the following advancements has had the greatest effect on contemporary investigations? A, the development of fingertipping and DNA analysis. B, the use of mounted patrols. C, the establishment of police uniforms. Or D, the discontinuation of neighborhood watch programs.
A.
A, the development of fingertipping and DNA analysis. Okay. Uh, what is one of the key objectives of the community policing initiative that emerged in the late 20th century? A, enhancing relationships between law enforcement and the community. B, decreasing the number of active officers. C, eradicating traditional law enforcement responsibilities, or D, heightening penalties for minor offenses?
A.
A, enhancing relationships between law enforcement and the community. Okay. How is the function of law enforcement broadened in reaction to modern societal issues? A, police now address cybersecurity threats and online criminal activities. B, officers receive training in de-escalation and handling mental health crises. C, law enforcement collaborates with social services and public health entities. Or D, all of the above.
D.
D, all of the above. Okay. Now to the next question. True or false? The incorporation of technologies like body cameras and data analytics has contributed to greater police transparency and accountability.
True.
True? Okay. Which of the following represents a significant challenge that modern policing faces, which was not an issue during the early days of law enforcement? A, cybercrime and digital fraud. B, enforcing prohibition regulations. C, apprehending train robbers. Or D, pursuing thieves on horse-drawn carriages.
B.
B? Or he said B as a boy?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So now that you have all your answers jotted down, let's go back and review all your answers. And if you don't mind, just like tallying up how many you've gotten wrong out of how many you've gotten right out of the 10. So the first question was, excuse me, what was the main concern of early law enforcement in the 19th century? And what was your answer for that?
A.
The answer is A. Well, the correct answer was B, enforcing public order and preventing riots. Early police forces were often created to maintain order rather than investigate crimes. Now to question two. Which of the following played a significant role in making policing more professional in the early 20th century? What was your answer to that?
A.
Yes, A. The introduction of formal police academies and training programs. Professionalization efforts included standardized training and ethical guidelines. Now to question three. Um, excuse me. True or false? In the initial stages of the American policing, officers mainly conducted foot patrols without radios or centralized communication systems.
True.
Yes, that is true. Early police operated on foot without radios, limiting their communication. Um, now to the next question, number four. What significant event in the 1960s prompted considerable changes in the police practices and accountability?
A.
Correct answer was B, public domain for civil rights and public oversight. The civil rights movement led to reforms, including more accountability measures. Now to question five. Question five. How did police officers' roles evolve with the arrival of motorized patrol units in the 20th century? What was your answer for that?
A.
Yes, A. They became more reactive rather than proactive in preventing crime. Motorized patrols increase efficiency, but sometimes reduce community interaction. Now to number six. Which of the following advancements has had the greatest effect on contemporary investigations? What was your answer for that?
A.
Yes, fingerprinting and DNA analysis. These forensic tools revolutionize criminal investigations. Now to number seven. Excuse me. What is one of the key objectives of the community policing initiative that emerged in the late 19th century? What was your answer for that?
A.
Yes, A, strengthening relationships between police and the public. Community policing emphasizes trust and collaboration between law enforcement and the public. Now to number eight. How has the function of law enforcement broadened in reaction to modern societal issues? What was your answer for that?
D.
Yes, D, all of the above. Policing has expanded to include cybersecurity, mental health responses, and collaboration with other agencies. Now to number nine, true or false? The incorporation of technologies like body cameras and data analytics has contributed greater police transparency and accountability. What was your
True.
answer for that? True? Yes, that is correct. Um, Now to the final question. Which of the following represents a significant challenge that modern policing faces, which was not an issue during the early days of law enforcement? What was your answer for that?
B.
The correct answer is A, cybercrime and digital fraud. Modern technology has created new types of crime that our early police never had to address. So now I think we should go on to the next slide, which covers the origins of modern day or of policing, which were the slave patrols. The first formalized law enforcement in the United States was the slave patrols in 1704 that acted as a patrol force to keep slaves from escaping or rebelling. In South Carolina, slave patrols were comprised of citizens that patrolled and regulated slaves for pay, rewards, or exemption from other duties. Their duties were written into law, like the Slave Patrol statute from Louisiana in 1835. It declares that slave patrols are to arrest any slave or slaves, whether with or without a permit, who may be caught in the woods or forest with any fire or torch, which slave or slaves thus arrested shall be subjected to corporal punishment and not exceeding 30 stripes. Slave patrols continued in the South until 1865, after the South conceded and were forced to stop their rebellion. However, it is to be noted that many of the duties the slave patrols practiced were still being enforced because of a loophole in the 13th Amendment that established slavery to be only allowed as a form of punishment. This loophole led to those in the South to specifically criminalize African Americans with laws dubbed Black Codes that aimed to put those formerly enslaved African Americans back into a form of slavery different from that in the past, but just as harmful. Already, we could see the duties of policing changing from just preventing slaves from escaping to enforcing laws such as the Black Codes after the change in laws that resulted from the Civil War. Now to the next slide that covers the emergence of formal police forces. In the North through 1838 to 1905, major developments were occurring in the evolution of policing. The first site of a formal police forces began to emerge in Boston and New York as a force to manage crime and civil unrest. Boston and New York were both increasing in urbanization during this time, and Boston had a large shipment commercial center that needed protection. The merchants of the shipment center created the idea to save money by redirecting the cost of continuing the police force to the citizens by arguing it was for the better good by allowing more commerce in the area. New York's police department adopted the London police model, which concentrated on keeping the peace and focusing on such offenses as excessive drinking, gambling, prostitution, and church disturbances. Contrasting the early slave patrol of the South and the law enforcement of Boston and New York in the later half of the 1800s illustrates the evolution in law enforcement duties once again. Law enforcement was once tasked with the duty of preventing slaves from escaping, and now the duty has evolved or transformed into protecting inventory on a shipment center and preventing offenses such as excessive drinking, gambling, prostitution, and church service disturbances. Now to the next slide that covers the Pennsylvania State Police. The Pennsylvania State Police was the first modern state police force, and it was founded in 1905. The Pennsylvania State Police Force originated because of disputes between managers and laborers that it employed. In 1902, the Great Antioch Strike occurred, which caused violent disturbances that caused a coal shortage and drove up the price of coal. It was not until President Theodore Roosevelt stepped in and recognized that peace and order should be maintained by normally appointed and responsible officers employed by the public did the strike stop. The tactics that the Pennsylvania State Police used were new to policing, included mounted patrols, surveillance, and crowd control. The department established the first uniform police organization of its kind in the United States and set an example for other state or other police agencies nationwide. Now to the next slide over the militarization of policing. The militarization of police illustrates a clear change or evolution in the duties or practices of law enforcement and policing. The militarization of police is the idea that law enforcement agencies have been increasingly using and equipping themselves with military-grade equipment. This involves law enforcement using equipment such as assault rifles and armored cars that were once previously not used in policing or even thought of being used. The militarization of the police did not only affect the equipment used by law enforcement, but also the attitude of law enforcement as they interact with the public using more force and intimidation to maintain peace in communities. This militarization of the law enforcement originated when the U.S. Congress passed the Military Cooperation with Law Enforcement Act in the 1980s, which allowed the military to provide local law enforcement with surplus military equipment as a response to the war on drugs moral panic in the United States. This militarization was further expanded in 2001 after the 9/11 terrorist attack, equipping officers with armored cars, surveillance technologies, and assault rifles. Compared to the slave patrols, Boston, New York, Compared to the slave patrols, Boston Police, Newark Police, and Pennsylvania State Police, the post-militarized law enforcement seems like a completely different job than those previous law enforcement groups. The post-militarized police officer is now tasked with a very different and many more duties than the previous law enforcement groups because of the technology that the militarization of law enforcement has brought to policing. And more specifically on that technology, technology has had a major impact on the evolution of policing and how it's conducted and the general duties of police officers. The technological advancements have equipped officers with surveillance tools such as drones, body cameras, facial recognition, and DNA recognition. According to PBS, once a person is arrested, police can swab their cheek, and within 90 minutes, a machine can determine if that person has committed other crimes anywhere in the country. Technology such as this has given law enforcement the ability to investigate crimes in a more effective manner and prove a higher certainty of guilt. However, technology such as DNA recognition or facial recognition presents a potential privacy issue that wouldn't have been seen in police departments in the past, such as Boston or Pennsylvania. These new technologies create potential privacy issues because officers can now identify individuals without their consent with facial recognition. And with DNA recognition, there presents another problem because the government is now able to create a database of individuals based off their DNA. Another change that came with technological advancements in policing was its shift from community-based policing to intelligence-led policing. Community-based policing was in the past was focused on maintaining peace and order by using collaborative approach between police and the community, such as neighborhood patrols. The intelligence-based policing that followed community-based policing focused on data collection and scientific analysis of information in the pursuit of solving and preventing crime. An example of intelligence-based policing is the hotspot policing, which is a method of policing which involves police focusing on areas which crime is most likely to be done after statistical analysis of that area. And now to the next slide that focuses on like a chart to illustrate the various differences in policing today compared to the past. Like modern policing involves advanced surveillance such as facial and DNA recognition to solve crimes. While in the past, police officers were only equipped with limited technology. Modern day police are equipped with technology to gather intelligence, but because again of limited technology, past police officers could only perform small investigations. Modern day police are equipped with military grade weapons and armored cars, while police in the past are only equipped with basic firearms, sidearms to deal with potential gun fights. Modern day police are equipped with armored vehicles and electric bikes, while police in the past were simply stuck to foot patrols or at best car patrols. Now, the next slide to cover the evolution of the police officer's duties. The traditional roles and duties of policing have majorly changed and evolved over its origination from slave patrols to the militarized technological police we see today. Since the origination of the Pennsylvania State Police, much of the traditional roles of police have remained the same, such as crime prevention, peacekeeping. But however, the militarization of the police and technological advancements but because of the militarization of the police, the technological advancements and the duties of the law enforcement have expanded. The militarization of the police has caused officers once tasked with using a sidearm, now being tasked with using assault rifles and armored cars. And the technological advancements in policing has caused an officer that may have once had to perform a small investigation, now being tasked with using DNA recognition and using DNA recognition to solve a case. The militarization and technological advancement into policing raise an issue, however. How do we balance the safety of society with the potential civil rights and privacy dangers that this militarization and technological advancements brings? I believe that moving forward, when there are new technological advancements incorporated into police departments and the duties of police are further expanded, we as a society need to be aware and understand if the technology is being used to prevent crime or it is being used to violate the rights and privacy of individuals. By doing this, I believe that when policing once again evolves, individuals will be able to not only be aware of its evolution, but also its purpose. Thank you.